2, 1, go whenever you want.
Thank you. We are meeting telephonically today for the village board meeting. It is Monday, March 23rd at 7:33. I appreciate all the trustees for attending. I also appreciate all the department heads that have made themselves available, as well as village manager Andre Peterson. Just so that it's clear, and I'll have Clerk Burns take the roll, but it's also my understanding that attending telephonically are Clerk Burns, Village Attorney Mark Birkland, Village Manager Andre Peterson, Public Works Director Gillingham, Community Development Director Jones, Finance Director Ciparoni, Police Chief Bluter, and Fire Chief Vavra. Is there anybody other than the trustees that are attending that I failed to introduce? Not hearing any. At this time, I would ask that Clerk Burns take the roll call.
Certainly. Trustee Augustine.
Here.
Trustee Gale.
Here.
Trustee Holder.
Here.
Trustee Kotinik.
Here.
Trustee McCarty.
You might want to unmute.
Trustee McCarty. President Kukla.
President Kukler's here, and Trustee McCarty, we haven't heard you. I'm not sure if it's because your phone's muted or not.
All right, try that again. Am I here?
Trustee McCarty, are you
hear me now?
You are here, loud and clear.
Yes. You are present. President Kukla,
Okay,
all
as a reminder,
trustees are present.
thank you, Clerk Burns. As a reminder, I would ask all attendees to please say their name before speaking, as this meeting is being broadcast by LT, as obviously an audio broadcast, but it's both on YouTube and on their closed circuit TV station. So I would ask that that everybody announce themselves prior to trying to speak. At this time, as part of the President's report, I would like to address the village's coronavirus preparedness and say a few things that the village has done. When I conclude that, I'm going to ask Clerk Burns to read an ordinance into the record and then ask for a motion and a second. First, the village of Grange, along with local, state, and federal health partners, are closely monitoring the COVID-19 and are working around the clock to minimize its impacts on our community. On Friday, March 20th, Governor Pritzker issued Executive Order 10 requiring all Illinoisans to stay in their homes to prevent the further spread of COVID-19. This step was important so that our healthcare systems and first responders are not overwhelmed by the rapid spread of the virus. The order prohibits gatherings and closes all non-essential establishments. However, residents can still perform essential activities like going to the grocery store, receiving medical care, or taking your pet for a walk or exercising yourself. The stay-at-home order continues through April 7th. Village administrative offices are closed to the public, although essential public services will continue as normal. Residents are asked to please use the convenient online payment systems and resources available on the village's website to transact village businesses, use the village hall drop drop boxes or call the village at 708-579-2300. Always, in the event of an emergency, dial 911. The coronavirus and government restrictions have had significant impacts on all residents and businesses, and we appreciate your continued cooperation for the benefit of our entire community and our vulnerable population. The restaurants remain open and ready to serve you via a variety of delivery services, carry-out, and curbside pickup options. You can also purchase gift cards for later use or donating to a charitable cause. Our residents are very generous and want to help in critical times like these. You can help most by staying home as much as possible, by supporting our businesses, and by contacting individual social service agencies in our community to see if there are ways to help safely within the governor's orders. The village offers multiple ways to continue to stay informed about COVID-19 and all other village news. If you haven't done so already, please visit the village website to sign up for our new emergency notification system, Rave Alert/Smart 911.
Excuse me, Mr. President, for what it's worth, you're not coming through at all.
I'm sorry.
This is Mark. Two things. Yeah, this is Mark. There's a lot of garble in this, Mark Buchler. And there are two things we can do. One is everyone should be on mute who isn't talking. And Mark, if you would speak into a handset, if you're not, instead of into hands-free.
Okay, let me change. Does that sound better?
Very dramatically better, yes.
Okay, terrific. Information regarding the coronavirus is fluid and evolving. The village has become aware of misinformation, and including products claiming cures and home testing kits. It is important that residents use official sources to receive their information. Please visit the Illinois Department of Public Health website at bph.illinois.gov or the state of Illinois at illinois.gov. The village website also has links to a number of helpful resources. Please visit www.villageoflagrange.com. I'd like to thank all of the village employees that are continuing to work on behalf of the residents. They are absolutely the front line for us, and I appreciate all their efforts. I'd also like to thank all the non-village employees that are continuing to work and assist and make the community as safe as it can be. It's very important, and I appreciate that. At this time, I would ask that Clerk Burns read the ordinance into the record.
Certainly. An ordinance authorizing the LaGrange Liquor Commissioner to act in response to the COVID-19 outbreak. Whereas Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker issued COVID-19 Executive Order Number 5, the order, on March 16, 2020, in which he addressed concerns regarding the coronavirus and issued orders intended to protect public health and safety. And whereas one order is the suspension of regular service of food and beverages on premises in restaurants and other food service establishments, but permitting those establishments to serve food and beverages for carryout and curbside pickup. And whereas temporary actions by the village president as LaGrange Liquor Commissioner may be necessary so that LaGrange restaurants can maximize their ability to comport with the order and potential future orders or directives. And whereas conditions related to COVID-19 also may require the LaGrange Liquor Commissioner to extend temporarily the expiration dates of liquor licenses or fee payments. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the President and Board of Trustees of the Village of LaGrange, Cook County, and State of Illinois as follows. Section 1, recitals. Recitals stated above are incorporated into this ordinance as findings of the Board of Trustees. Section 2, authority of LaGrange Liquor Commissioner. The LaGrange Liquor Commissioner is hereby authorized and directed to take temporary action in the Commissioner's discretion through policies or issuance of riders on licenses to comport with the state executive orders or decrees, or to mitigate the effects of the COVID-19 outbreak on liquor licensed businesses. And Section 3, the effective date will be dependent on when the village board votes and approves this.
Thank you, Clerk Burns. At this time, is there a motion and a second?
I'd like to move to approve the ordinance.
I'll second it, Mike Latinek.
Okay, was that Dave that moved?
Yes.
Okay, Trustee Dave McCarty having moved, and Trustee Mike Latinek having seconded. Can we have a roll call vote, Clerk Burns?
Certainly. Trustee Holder.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee Katinek.
Aye.
Trustee McCarty.
Aye.
The motion having received unanimous support passes. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd ask that Trustee Holder provide a brief update regarding Amita LaGrange Memorial Hospital and how they're faring with the coronavirus.
Thank you, President Kukler. Am I coming through clearly?
Yes.
Okay, good. I was talking with the CEO of the hospital, Mike Merle, whom you've all met just an hour or so ago, and I have a statement from him that I wanted to make part of our record and then answer any questions that you might have. LaGrange is proud. Amita Health LaGrange is proud to be a part of this community, and Mike thanks you for giving him the opportunity to give some updates based on what we know currently. Information continues to flow in from the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, and Prevention, and the Illinois Department of Public Health, the IDPH, and our county health departments, and we are relying on those resources to be our guideposts. Of note, there has been an outpouring of community generosity that I want to highlight and express our gratitude to the many businesses and local community members that are stepping up to support the healthcare team with food, capital resources, and words of encouragement. Thank you from all of us. So a few brief notes with regard to the status in our community. First and foremost, and as is always, the health and safety of our patients and staff are the top priorities. And at this time, we have teams working around the clock to ensure proper use of personal protective equipment, such as face masks and gloves, as well as the needed medical equipment. We're also working with our suppliers to ensure that we maintain appropriate stock levels as the time goes on. Of note is that this hospital and all of the Amita hospitals are very experienced in treating highly contagious patients. We follow well-tested policies and procedures carefully, as always, to ensure the health of our patients as well as the safety of our staff in the community. I'll add a personal note there that, every fall, I got to be one of them one year. We have outbreaks of meningitis and other things that are very contagious and can be very deadly. And there are plans and procedures in place, protocols that are followed on a regular basis. And our hospital is very experienced with that. Back to Mike's words here. We're taking precautions to screen anyone entering the facility for contact, travel, medical risk factors, and public health concerns, along with restrictions in visitation in order to protect the patients and our associates. We're also working with our long-term care providers within the community to ensure that patients either in residence there or having to be hospitalized are done so with dignity while adhering to the stringent clinical guidelines. We're looking beyond today and preparing for what might be possible weeks from now. But with the strength and support not only of our local nurses, physicians, and clinical professionals, but also of our parent sponsors, Ascension and Advent Health, we are well prepared and ready to respond to the needs of our community. You can help us. All of LaGrange can help us by following the guidelines established by the Illinois Department of Public Health and the CDC regarding social distancing. It's not about who you might infect. It's about how many your actions may cause to become effective. If you are not feeling well, please stay home. But if you have any unexplained symptoms that you feel might be related to COVID-19, please call your primary care physician first, and they will provide guidance on the next steps. That ends his comments. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Trustee Holder. Appreciate it.
Okie doke.
Bill, how is the area doing in terms of anyone that we know of coming down with COVID-19 at this time?
We're doing great. I mean, we have one patient that has tested positive. We have a few others that are under observation, and they're kept in negative pressure rooms to ensure that the air doesn't leave that room. And these are normal protocols that are followed. I will add that somebody needs to mute their phone. I will add that the first case in the nation was here in Illinois, and in fact was in an Amita hospital. I think I've expressed that before. And the CDC, when they came in, was thrilled not only with our normal protocols that we followed, but how well we followed them and how successful they were for both the initial person who was infected as well as that person's spouse who subsequently became infected. Both are, by the way, healthy, happy, back at home. But we have these protocols that are well established, and no one should be alarmed whatsoever. But we do have, and I doubt you would find a hospital in the state that doesn't have at least a couple of people that are at least under observation or in fact have tested positively.
Thank you, Bill.
Any other trustee questions for Trustee Holder?
This is Clerk Burns. I have a question, Bill, with regard to the hospital's policy on no visitors. So how would that relate to someone whose child becomes ill or family member and is taken to the emergency room? The person is then admitted. Does that preclude the family from visiting that person?
I don't know the answer to that, John. I'm sure it's done in cases of small children and whatnot. I'm sure it's done on a case-by-case basis. And of course, the biggest issue there is to restrict, where possible, the introduction of additional cases. So, but I don't know. There's no rigid answer to your question, John.
Okay, thank you.
Any other trustee questions? If not, I'll continue with the President's report. Moving on to the census. Residents by now should have received an invitation to respond online to the 2020 census. We, as a village board, urge you to respond as soon as possible. The deadline to respond is April 1st. The 2020 census is the first time that the Census Bureau will offer online and phone response options as well as the traditional paper form. The village has partnered with numerous organizations, including schools, churches, social service agencies, the library, to get the word out regarding the importance of being counted. The village relies on a complete count in order to ensure that LaGrange receives its fair share of federal and state funds for the schools, or roads, and public service, as well as congressional representation. Detailed information regarding the census is located on the village's website or by visiting the census website at www.census.gov. At this time, I would ask Clerk Burns to read items on the consent portion of the agenda, followed by items under current business.
Certainly. Matters on the consent agenda will be considered by a single motion and vote because they have already been considered fully by the board at a previous meeting or have been determined to be of a routine nature. Any member of the Board of Trustees may request that an item be moved from the consent agenda to current business for separate consideration. There are 3 items on the consent agenda. Item A, minutes of the Village of LaGrange Board of Trustees special meeting Saturday, March 7, 2020. Item B, minutes of the Village of LaGrange Board of Trustees regular meeting Monday, March 9, 2020. Item C, consolidated voucher 200323. And under current business, there's one item, item A, ordinance amending portions of Chapter 39 of the LaGrange Code of Ordinances regarding civil emergencies.
Thank you, Clerk Burns. Andre, is there a manager's report?
Thank you, President Kukler. One announcement is that this meeting is being conducted by telephone as a result of Governor Pritzker's emergency coronavirus actions to ease the standards for municipal open meetings as a result of these unusual and difficult circumstances. I have one item to report, and that is the spring cleanup. This year's spring cleanup will be held the week of April 6th on your regular collection day. To participate, residents are required to affix 3 stickers in total to the unlimited household refuse set out for collection. Certain exceptions apply, such as construction and demolition debris, hazardous material, and the like. For more information regarding spring cleanup, as well as other recycling and waste reduction alternatives, please visit the village's website. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre, and thank you for saying that about that this is being held telephonically due to Governor Pritzker's actions on the Open Meeting Act. I was supposed to say that in the beginning of the meeting and failed, so thank you very much on that front. Have there been any questions submitted or public comments submitted?
No, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Then I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
And that was Trustee Holder?
Yes,
we
it
just
was.
have to have it for the record. Was that Trustee Holder that moved?
Yes, it was.
Second by Trustee McCarty.
Second.
McCarty.
Thank you, Trustee Holder, and thank you, Trustee McCarty. Trustee Augustine?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. I just wanted to also make note that recuse myself from voucher items on the agenda related to the village prosecutor from voting on those items. Thank you.
With regard to the matters on the consent agenda, do any trustees need to discuss any matter prior to a vote? Hearing none, Clerk Clerk Burns, please call a roll call vote.
Certainly. Trustee Katina.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee McCarty.
Aye.
Trustee Holder.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Burns. Again, this motion being passed unanimously passes. At this time, I would ask Trustee McCarty to introduce the item under current business.
Thank you, President Livingston. As we have seen in the last 2 weeks, and indeed the last several years, as a village, we are increasingly faced with new levels of challenge. Whether COVID-19 or 3 100-year rain events, we need to ensure our village leadership has the power needed to act appropriately. The Illinois Municipal Code provides that the corporate authorities of each municipality may, by ordinance, grant to the village president extraordinary powers and authority to exercise by executive order during a state of emergency, actions reasonably necessary to respond to an emergency. While the village code of ordinances currently grants the village president authority to take certain actions in the event of an emergency, staff and the village attorney have reviewed the current provisions, which were adopted in 1976, to update, clarify, and affirm various definitions, processes, and timeframes for the village president and the board of trustees to issue an extended declaration of emergency, and the types of orders that may be issued during a declared civil emergency. It is important to note that the action recommended this evening does not declare a state of emergency. It does, however, affirm the village president's authority to do so if necessary. A declaration of emergency by the village president, if necessary, will enable timely actions to be taken to address emergency conditions. It also ensures that village business, such as payment of bills, should meetings be canceled, and emergency purchases can continue to be conducted. Unless extended by the village board, a declaration of civil emergency will expire not later than the adjournment of the first regular or special meeting of the board of trustees, or 7 days after the declaration is issued, whichever comes first. I'd like to move the approval of this ordinance, amending portions of Chapter 39 of the Grange Code of Ordinances regarding civil emergencies.
Second by Trustee Holder.
Thank you, Trustee McCarty, and thank you, Trustee Holder, for your second. At this time, is there anyone who would like to discuss or question this motion?
President Kukler, it's Trustee Kotsinek. Just real quick, if I understood correctly, the order is for a term of 7 days. And if we're meeting, the second and fourth Monday of each month, be it by phone or in person, does it make sense, and maybe this is a question for council, to extend your authorization until our next scheduled or ad hoc meeting, just to give you more flexibility?
Thank you, Trustee Kotinik, and I will have our attorney, Mark Birkeland, address when this becomes effective and why the 7 days.
The 7 days is a standard that has been set and is followed by in all of these types of declarations. And the purpose, of course, is to set a reasonable limit on the power of the village president or city mayor, and if that occurs or is about to occur in advance of the next meeting of the corporate body, the solution is to call a special meeting like this one to either grant the president a different form, if necessary, of disaster declaration, but mostly just to confirm that the declaration would stay in existence for another 7 days or thereafter. So it would be a weekly process if the disaster needs to be extended.
Okay, understood. I appreciate the feedback.
I'm sorry, I missed that. What I was going to ask, and this is President Kukla, asked Attorney Birkeland, the ordinance that's being passed would give the power if that was to be declared, and then it would last 7 days. It's not that I would be getting this power today, correct?
That's correct. It would the time period would begin after the public release of a declaration.
Trustee Kucinich, does that answer your questions?
It does. Thank you.
Are there any other trustee comments before we have a vote? Hearing none, Clerk Burns, please perform a roll call vote.
Certainly. Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee Kucinich.
Aye.
Trustee Holder.
Aye.
Trustee McCarty.
Aye.
Thank you, trustees. The vote passes unanimously. It is appreciated. At this time, are there any trustees' comments? And if there are, I would just remind you to introduce yourself by stating your name before speaking. And again, we'll try to make sure that everybody that wants to speak has an opportunity to do so.
This is Trustee Augustine, and I just wanted to say that it's in these difficult times, it has been warming for me, and I think all of us who've noticed the outpouring of ingenuity and care for our hospitals and caregivers, but also for our businesses and restaurants, the little groups that have popped up on social media and elsewhere to go above and beyond to order food and purchase products from these stores while they were still going and while they are still going has been nothing short of amazing, and I'm proud, very proud of what I'm seeing our community do, and I wanted that to be noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. Anyone else? Hearing none, at this time I would ask for a motion to adjourn in a second.
So moved.
Trustee Kucinich makes the motion to adjourn. Or second.
I'm sorry, I heard Trustee Holder making the motion, and who seconded it?
Trustee Kucinich, second, please.
Thank you, Trustee Kucinich. A motion to adjourn has been made by Trustee Holder and seconded by Trustee Kucinich. Is there any discussion before we call for a vote on that? Hearing none, I would ask all in favor to please say so.
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? The ayes pass unanimously at 8:07. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, trustees. Thank you, department heads. I appreciate all your efforts. I know at times it was difficult to hear me, and I apologize for that. I do sincerely appreciate all your efforts, not only with this meeting, but all that you've done for the village. Thank you. Be safe.
Be safe and be well, everyone.
Thank you.